Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, WWE Evolve will feature, of course, the main event, the Men's Evolve Championship on the line. Keanu Carver, as you know, who was screwed out of the opportunity by the members of Vanity Project. Well, he finally gets his hands. But the real question, will he succeed? Or once again, Jackson Drake and his cronies will of course retain the title as always. That is something we will pay attention. And of course, we do witness the return of Callie Armstrong since losing the Women's Evolve Championship to Kendall Gray. But however, it seems that the welcome mat decided to put her in her place. So there's plenty of more things that are taking place as well. And then we move on, of course, with AEW, as you know, is Blood and Guts. One of the most dangerous, horrific, and bloody matches. And as you all know, we have the first ever women's Blood and Guts. This is the first time we ever get to see this, and I think this is a historic moment. But the real question is, who will come out on top from both the men's and the women's? That's something we will find out. But also it features a non-title match in a Falls Count Anywhere match. The current AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page takes on Powerhouse Hobbs, 1/3 of the Trios Champion and a member of the Ops. So we'll see how things will progress from there. And then finally, of course, as always, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Any world of pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information has been unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers. Let's get started, of course, with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolved. We opened up, of course, with the Vanity Project, the current Men's Evolve Champion Jackson Drake, along with Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes. Now, as you all know, Jackson Drake will be defending the Men's Evolve Championship against Keanu Carver. Of course, he's a bit worried because, as you know, Keanu Carver has the ability to use his cast regardless. But I'm sure you all know that there is absolutely that Jackson Drake will do whatever it takes to retain the championship, with, of course, Tweedledee and Tweedledum helping him out. So we'll see how that rolls up. Now, Callie Armstrong, as you know, it's been quite some time since she's seen her As you all know, she took some time off after losing the Women's Evolve Championship to Kendall Gray. Now, of course, she gave props to her, saying that she put her through her limits, and of course, that's exactly what she did. But she made it perfectly clear that she's going to make her way back on top, and not to mention, she would love to have another opportunity for the championship. However, as you all know, PJ Vasa, who made an appearance not too long ago to make a statement against Kendall Gray, is trying to tell Callie Armstrong, get in the back of the line. So, as you all know, it led into a brawl. So, it later was announced that there's going to be a match between those two next week. Now, they never specified if this is like a number one contendership, but I'm sure that's something that will be considered. Now, our first match, we have Shawn Legacy taking on Eli Knight. I have to say, Eli Knight was very impressive, I'm not going to lie. I mean, Shawn Legacy, we all can agree he is the fan favorite in this match that definitely would pull off a lot of great moments. But, of course, Eli Knight, I have to say, he did pull off a pretty good, impressive match. But, however, it was Shawn Legacy with the shambles onto him, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Of course, we did see a post-match interview with Chewy talking to Shawn Legacy, and not to mention, Legacy gave props to Eli Knight for his efforts in the match. However, apparently, of course, Jax Braxley and Riggins decided to show up and try to make their presence known, saying enough with this crap. But however, Timothy Thatcher showed up and teach these guys a lesson. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to happen. Now, Mason Holiday along with Layla Diggs were having a bit of a nice discussion until they were interrupted by Nikita Lyons. As you know, Nikita Lyons is trying to put herself on the map in every way possible. So there was a match that was set between them. Now, however, of course, at some point in the match, it was going great until out of nowhere we did see Ariana Grace. Now, it's still unclear what is going on, but we were told NXT talent will be making their presence known. But unfortunately, it was Nikita Lyons with the somewhat of a Vader bomb onto Mason Holiday, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we did see an interview with Chewy Martinez with Chantel Monroe. As you know, she had some things to say about Wendy Chu. But however, like any other competitor, we all know what's the one thing in her mind, and that is, of course, the Evolve Women's Championship. So she's sending a direct message to Kendall Gray. As you probably can guess, we have plenty of people that want to have a shot at the title, but we'll find out soon enough. Now, our main event features the Men's Evolve Championship. We have, of course, the challenger Kiana Carver, and of course versus Jackson Drake. But of course, Jackson Drake has his buddies Brad Baylor and Ricky Smoke, or I like to call Tweedledee and Tweedledum, decided to get involved in this match in every way possible to ensure. However, of course, Ricky Smokes was taken out, and then of course, without the ref noticing, Brad Baylor got involved in this, of course. And this led to, of course, Jackson Drake to apply a knee strike, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, he retained the title. And I'm sure someone is going to try to take that title away from him, and I wouldn't be surprised if that person has to be Shawn Legacy, maybe within a year or two. I'm not sure, but we'll see. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for Evolve. I believe it's time to move on with our last and final review, AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts. Okay, AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts. So, as you know, we have two matches involving the women's and the men's. Now, however, as you all know, the women's will have their first opportunity. As you know, this is the first time ever. Now, as you all know, when it comes to Blood and Guts, there's always 5-on-5. However, in the women's, it's 6-on-6. Now, uh, as you all know, there's the advantage, which is the odd number involved, which is starts out 1-on-1, and then of course a 2-on-1, then even again, and so on and so on. So it started out, of course, with Sky Blue versus Willow Nightingale. So things were looking well from right there until, of course, Julia Hart, who is of course part of the Triangle Madness and Sky Blue's tag team partner, known as a Sister of Pain or something like that. It was like that 2-on-1 until, of course, Willow's tag partner, uh, Harley Cameron, made her presence known. And then after that, we were seeing Tekla making her way down there too, to make the odds in their favor. But of course, with mayhem taking place, we did see Jamie Hayter. As you all know, Jamie Hayter has her distaste problems towards Tekla. If you guys remember, it was Tekla who initially attacked her when she first arrived to AEW, and that's exactly what happened. And then, of course, we have Megan Bayne making her presence known in the fourth spot. As you know, she is a very strong, powerful wrestler until, of course, Chris Statlander made her presence known from there to move forward. And then after that, of course, we did see Mercedes Moné. Now, of course, Moné, as you all know, has her issues towards Chris Statlander, who's determined to win the AEW Women's World Title, and that exactly what she tried to do. So you can tell there's that factor right there. However, later we did see Mina Shirakawa make her presence known, being Mina as she is. And then, of course, after that, we have Marina Shafir, who is the last entrant. And then, of course, on the other side, we have Toni Storm. So all hell broke loose. I mean, there was a lot of mayhem. But however, it seems that there was a plan that was started upon. Julia Hart made it out of the ring and make her asking the referee Mike Posey to give her the key until Tekla speared him. It appears that the idea, what they try to do, is to remove certain wrestlers out of the ring. They removed Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Harley Cameron, and who else? And probably Jamie Hayter, leaving Mina and Toni in the ring. However, things got a little complicated because, as you probably know, they forced Toni Storm to surrender. They were beating Mina Shirakawa to a pulp in order for her to surrender. As you all know, Toni Storm loves Mina Shirakawa and she would do anything for her. And because of that, the Triangle of Madness, Megan Bayne, Marina Shafir, and Mercedes Moné won. They may have won this one, but don't forget, there will be the rivalries that will continue on in the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament. So we will be seeing. And some people are now speculating that Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa will be possibly the first ever champions. So we'll see about that when we get there. But however, I failed to mention Penelope Ford was there in ringside until she was driven out by Queen Aminata. So letting you guys know on that front. Now we did have, of course, the fall. Then we did see in the back, Don Callis' family made an initial attack against the Jurassic Express as a favor from Don Callis to the Young Bucks. As you all know, the Young Bucks will team up with the Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander, to take on Kenny Omega and the Jurassic Express. So they're determined to send a message. As you all know, Don Faggot, of course, is determined to prove his point. But we'll see what happens till then. Now, our next match, we have the Falls Count Anywhere match. Hangman Adam Page taking on Powerhouse Hobbs. Now, remember, this match could end anywhere. I mean, it could happen in the kitchen. It could happen in the bathroom, the parking lot, the stairs, wherever it's at. And, of course, that's exactly what the whole thing was about. But there was a moment where, of course, Hobbs had this match won in the back because he put Hangman Page through a table, but somehow it kicked out. And then he tried to do it again, but this time much dangerous. It didn't work. However, Hangman Page was able to overturn it and pushed, of course, Powerhouse up through a table where there's a lot of electronic stuff and kind of like power was going out. And just like that, he pinned him. 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, while he was celebrating, he was viciously attacked by Shibata. But however, this was a trap by Samoa Joe to trap Hangman Adam Page in the steel cage that was part of the Blood and Guts. But luckily, Eddie Kingston and, of course, Hook decided to show up. So Hangman decided to make this announcement. So instead, at Full Gear, it's going to be a steel cage match for the AEW World Championship. So we'll see what happens from there. And I'm sure Samoa Joe's not liking this, but it is what it is. Now, our next match, we have the men. Oh no, before proceed, there's another thing. Tony Schiavone was in the ring introducing, of course, the wrestling legend. Many of you know him, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, making his presence known. However, of course, while they were trying to talk, we had a bunch of buzz killers, and that is, of course, FTR and that idiot Stokely Hathaway. Now, of course, they're trying to prove their point that they are living legends. And then, of course, things went out of control when FTR tried to spike pile drive, of course, um, Ricky, but apparently, thank God, Brodito showed up and took matters in their own hands. So, you all know how that ends. Now, let's jump into the men's blood and guts. We opened up with Darby Allin taking on Wheeler Yuta. Of course, all hell was going to break loose. Um, then, of course, Orange Cassidy makes his presence, but during the time when it was a 2-on-1, they made Wheeler Yuta bleed. And, of course, stepping up for the Death Riders, we see Daniel Garcia. So it was even out in every way possible. Now, this is where things got interesting. We were supposed to have Mark Briscoe make his presence known, but he was viciously attacked. The obvious question that was being raised, did the Don Callis family have something to do with it? Because the problem is, if things don't go well in the Death Riders, well, I have to say Don Callis may have to suffer the consequences for his interference, but we'll see. But however, Roderick Strong stepped up to the plate and joined in. Then, of course, we did have Claudio, who was mostly the cleaner of the Death Squad, came in. And then, of course, Kyle O'Reilly stepped up. And then, of course, John Moxley. And then Pac. However, Mark Briscoe, as you know, was still out. He made the decision to attack. Then we did see a lot of things taking place. There was, of course, man, it was really, really bloody. And then we did see Gabe Kidd out of nowhere showing up, choking Darby Allin, and then Pac tossed him around when they set the table on fire. They thought this would be the perfect opportunity. But as you all remember recently, Kyle O'Reilly had John Moxley won, not once but twice. But this time he had no escape. He put him in a ankle lock, and just like that, he tapped out. And I'm sure people are going to tell Moxley the next time they see him, you tapped out, which is embarrassing. But however, Tony Schiavone is saying that Moxley will not be too pleased with the fact that Don Callis' family interfered and attacked Mark Briscoe. Maybe they might have thought this would help them out. I mean, Moxley says, we're the kind of people that need any favors. But of course, Don will not take that. I wouldn't be surprised if they interfered, but it is what it is. So that's how things end in Blood and Guts. It was a pretty good show, I'm not going to lie, even though it only focused on the majority of the Blood and Guts matches, but it is what it is. So we'll leave things as it is. With that, let's move on with our last and final thing, and that is, of course, news update. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with upcoming events. However, in this section, we have only Jersey Championship Wrestling events that have been announced. As you all know, on the 23rd of November, we have the Home for the Holiday event. We have, of course, the GCW World Tag Team belts on the line. Alec Price and Jordan Oliver will defend them against LeBron Cazone and Manny Lowe. And then, of course, a month later, on December 19th, they have the Round Ball Rock taking place. We have Eli Knight, and many of you know I mentioned him on the he's one of the WWE ID prospects, will be making his debut. However, they did announce that Drew Parker will be making his return. Now, as you all know, Chavo Guerrero Jr., who is the nephew of the late Eddie Guerrero, it was later foretold that he re-signed with WWE, so he will continue. However, Mike Johnson of PW Insider talks about some of the reasons why he resigns, and let me explain it. Let me put up here what he had to say about that. Oh yeah, here it is. This is what he said to Mike. No, never mind. Yeah, this is what he said. I just re-signed with WWE, so I'm helping out with their AAA show, and I'm back with them. AAA is an awesome and was always awesome lucha libre. You know, that's where my family originated from, so I have a big love lucha libre. See just to see AAA under the WWE umbrella, and it's pretty awesome and pretty cool. It's one thing that we want to keep the tradition of lucha libre and keep make lucha an amazing than with WWE marketing and WWE styles. And I think the sky is the limit. I mean, yeah, some people are happy about that, but of course, there are still some people who are still concerned over the fact of WWE purchase of AAA, and I don't fault them on that. I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do, and I'm sure, yeah, I would have assumed that the Guerrero family were involved with, of course, with CML, but back in the day it was known as EML. So yeah. Now, recently, Jericho was on the Talk of Jericho, has talked about how he believes now that TNA is now going to be the second best promotion. And this is something that's been discussed already. Eric Bischoff believes that too. But this is what he said. And this is like when he about the ever since the Bound for Glory event that happened recently. That effing crowd looked huge. It looked huge, and I was like, WWE level crowd. The place was packed, and I was watching this. I was not saying anything out of school here, but comparing watching Dynamite when they were at the ECW arena, which looked like Tony Condello taping. Sorry, it did. TNA looked like the second best company in the world, and that's amazing. And the presentation is amazing. Looked like a WrestleMania. Now, of course, people have been talking about this, and some people mentioned this, commented that what's wrong with Jericho, because people are saying that TNA had their chances already to become the second best promotion many years ago. Now, I'm sure many of you would disagree with that, but I'm not saying it is true or not, but I'm just hearing what I'm hearing and talking with friends about that. But I gotta ask you guys, do you think Jericho is right, or is he wrong in the head? I'm not sure, so... Um, well, let's keep moving on. Now, Tony Khan has recently talking about the possibility of taking AEW to France and Germany at some point. And this is what he says: "We've never done a show in France, and I love to go to Paris for AEW all over France. I would love to go to Germany, which has great wrestling market, and there's a lot of great wrestling fans in Germany, and I think that would be a great place for us to have AEW at some point." Now, I know what some people are going to think. You're probably going to say, isn't it WWE have territories in France and Germany? Maybe so, guys, but you got to remember, WWE only hires wrestlers that come from those areas, and that's the thing. There's no such thing who owns what territories. You can go to any country to have his show. I mean, we've seen that already. I mean, we're yet to see AEW go to Japan. That's something that's been discussed, and we still don't know when that will happen. But it's true about Germany. They do have a great marketing down there. I mean, they don't have like the same kind of level as AEW or WWE, but there are some great wrestling. If you haven't seen them, check out WXW, and not to mention, Bozilla is from this particular promotion. Now, Hangman Adam Page recently talked on this interview, mentioned about how the Hardy Boys were his heroes growing up, and this is what he said: "As a kid, I was a big fan of Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys. There were North Carolina guys. Their dad was a tobacco farmer like my dad, and I read their book. I really related with who they were and how they came up with the wrestling, and they were exciting wrestlers too. I have gone to meet them, work with them for years on end, and incredible guys, and they were my heroes when I was a kid." Yeah, so I get that, like you have like their same similarity, like their similarities with their lives. I mean, it's no secret about Hangman Page that his family owned a tobacco farm, and of course, if that's what the Hardy's dad did, then it makes perfect sense. I mean, you have those kind of roots, and it's great to hear that he has been influenced by them, and I'm sure the Hardys were really happy to hear that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it what we have for now, so let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have Ring of Honor and, of course, TNA. Now, originally I was planning to do Stardom and, of course, New Japan, with featuring another self-produced show with Taiji Shimori with the Superhuman thing. Well, unfortunately, I was unable to do so due to my regular job. Apparently, for this week, my shift went up to, of course, in the afternoon. But however, I am planning to try to do, of course, Stardom and the New Japan show as much as possible because we are trying to catch up with that. I already catch up with Oz Academy, and I'm determined to catch up with other events as well. But we'll see how things roll up from here on out. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I'm as Bill of you. Adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.